Hello everybody, this is Connor, BoatsDon'tSink, here with another Shadowverse Evolve deck profile. This time we're going to be looking at BP09's Vampire Abyss deck. This is, of course, the deck that won the World Finals this season at the hands of one Ryan Wibbs Wibberly. We are actually going to be taking a look at his exact list here, but as always, the meta at your locals or whatever tournaments you're going to may be different from what he expected at Worlds or what he played against, so minor changes could always be a possibility here. I'm going to mention a few cards that he's not playing that a lot of people do, or some things that I think some numbers could change on, but as a whole we will be looking at his deck list today that won Worlds. So here is the list, a lot of 3-ofs, pretty standard with most of the vampire cards here, only a few non-vampire cards, being Double Aim, Last Daylight, Whispers of a Dream, and Crimson Rose Queen. All of which are just very powerful cards that are going to help our game plan here anyway. Evo deck is just maxed out on the same number of copies as the base forms in the deck, so pretty simple Evo deck there, not a whole lot of room for things you need to or have to change. If you want to check out this deck on its deck log page, you can use the code in the bottom right, 5VDC8, or you can use the link in the description. Playing 21 followers, 16 spells, and 3 amulets. That does seem like a rather high spell count for a follower-based deck like this, but since a lot of our good followers are tokens, we're actually going to be using a lot of these spells and amulets to make those tokens, so we are essentially a bit higher on the body count than the deck numbers may make it seem. Our curve is super low, 9 1-drops, 18 2-drops, and then only 10 cards at 4 or higher, just basically being the top end of our curve. One of those 4-drops even usually being a 3-drop when you play it. And then one of our 2-drops actually being 0 a lot of the time, but we do focus a bit heavier on the 2-cost cards here, partially just because that's where a lot of the good vampire cards and removal spells are, but also partially as an engine for our Crimson Rose Queen to be sort of a stabilization tool or a finisher for the deck. Taking a look at the individual cards here. First up, we have Raven Noontide Vampire, or Green Raven, as I'll frequently call her. She is a 1-drop 1/2 fanfare. Put a Forest Bat token into your EX area. So the Forest Bats are going to be a large part of this deck. They are just 1-cost 1/1 tokens that we're going to be making a lot of. And then once on each of your turns, when a Forest Bat is put onto your field, give your leader +1 defense. So you'll get a passive 1 heal per turn as long as you have a Raven stick around, because let me tell you, you will be making a Forest Bat on every turn pretty much. There is another Raven that is sort of a partner to this one, that is the Red Raven, Raven Midnight Vampire. This is a 1-cost 2/1, also gives you a Forest Bat, and each turn, once each turn when a Forest Bat's put onto your field, you'll deal 1 to each enemy leader. So this is basically a green one heals you, red one burns them, kind of thing, that they're both just 1-costs that give you a bat. We're not playing the red one in this list, we're only playing the green one. And basically the reasoning for that is that across the entire span of the game, these followers are very weak, very easy to remove, especially Red Raven only having 1 defense, means it's also going to die to any turns where the opponent plays like Barrage or anything like that. Or even like an Agnes Tachyon, -1/-1, just gets rid of it immediately. So you're pretty much only ever getting the 1 damage the same turn you play the Raven. And if she's your turn 1 play, you might not even get that. So it doesn't actually get you that much extra damage throughout the course of the game. It's like 3 at most, and it probably isn't even 3 because you're probably not even going to draw all of them. And that just doesn't make the difference in killing your opponent or not very often. Whereas Green Raven is a little harder to remove, having 2 defense, and the heals can be a little more beneficial just throughout the course of the game than that little bit of like 1 to 2 chip damage is going to be. Next up, we have Summon Bloodkin. This is a spell from the starter deck. It is just 1 cost. You summon a Forest Bat and then put a Forest Bat into your EX area. So for 1 play point, we're getting an immediate forest bat, and then we also get 1/2 save for later. This is pretty strong. As we saw with the Raven we just looked at, we're going to have a lot of effects that trigger when a forest bat enters. So this does trigger one immediately, or if we don't have those effects that we want to trigger immediately, it gives us a forest bat to just save for later. So it's a bit flexible there. In addition, we do have a follower that makes our forest bats cost 0 to play. So a lot of times being able to fill your EX area with some bats early, and just sort of hold on to them for later can be pretty strong as well. The other 1 cost we have is Vampiric Fortress. This is an amulet, 1 cost, fanfare. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal a vampire card from among them, add it to your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. As I said, almost the entire deck is vampire cards, so you're going to be able to find something. If you don't, that's pretty rough, but you're going to be able to find something. Just pick the best thing for the scenario, like at any given time. All these cards are good, so they're all just valid targets to grab off of this. The other effect is that you can pay 1, engage, and sack the amulet to summon a forest bat token. So this means that we are not only getting 2 cantrip, we're also basically saving up another EX area forest bat for whenever we need one. Moving into our 2 costs, we have our first non-vampire card, Double Aim, Duke and Dame. This is a 2 cost 2/2 fanfare, bury the top card of your deck. That is not... I mean, we're not a necro charge deck, obviously, but we do have a card that wants us to have... We have 2 cards, actually, that want us to have 5 or more vampire cards in our cemetery, so this kind of gets you there just a little bit faster. And, of course, Cudlack's going to get us cards out of the cemetery as well, but primarily, this card is here as a 2 cost 2/2 that evolves for 1 into a 3/3. On evolve, it deals 2 damage to an enemy follower. Necro charge 10, we get to deal 4 instead. This is mostly an early game stabilization card, since it can shoot something for 2, swing at something for 3. It's quite good against Sword and in the Mirror, just to remove their small early game bodies. Especially if we go second, we can ideally just shoot their turn 2 play, swing at their turn 1 play, double clear things, and we still got to keep our turn 1 play, and sort of progress the game state from there. We can stabilize in the mid game a lot of the time, so the issue really is just surviving these early onslaughts, since a lot of the vampire deck is at best like 1-for-1s, until you get later in the game where you get some like sweepers and stuff. So having a card that can potentially 2-for-1 here, maybe even 3-for-1, is very good at helping us survive. Our next 2-drop is Purple Raven, Raven Eventide Vampire. This is by far the strongest of the 3. It's a 2 cost 1/1. Activated ability, engage, bury a forest bat. Choose one of the following. Option 1 is to deal 4 damage to an enemy follower and draw a card. Option 2 is to deal 2 damage to the enemy leader, heal 2, and then draw a card. These are both insanely over spec for just the cost of a forest bat, which we can make just millions of for free, basically. So this essentially just reads engage, kill something, or engage, drain 2 life from your opponent. And you're drawing a card either way, so you're kind of just replacing the forest bat. And as I said, most of these cards are doing, like, they're making a forest bat and doing something else, or making multiple forest bats. So you're turning your 1 card that gave you the bat back into a card, and also still keeping whatever other benefit it gave you. So it's just super efficient. Very good at, stabilizing with heals, or just putting extra pressure on your opponent's life total. Or 4 damage is quite a good number, so it's able to remove things that are definitely going to cost your opponent more than it costs you to put the Raven and the Forest Bat into play. The last 2-cost follower we have is Vania Vampire Princess. This is the set 2 Vania, which hasn't really seen much play up until now. It's a 2-cost 2/2 fanfare. Give this follower +X/+X. X is equal to the number of Forest Bat tokens on your field. So if you have up to 4 Forest Bat tokens, you can give this as much as +4/+4 on fanfare, making it a 2-cost 6/6. This can be very difficult to remove. Even just playing this on like turn 3, after you do like a Raven into a Summon Bloodkin, and then like a turn 3 Vania or something, can be insanely strong. It's just giving you like a 5/5 or something on turn 3. Super good card. And then it also has an activated ability to pay 1 and sack a forest bat to deal 3 to an enemy follower and 1 to its leader. 3 is not quite as good of a number as 4, but it's still basically free removal. And it's also going to chip away your opponent's life total, which can help set up for some kills later into the game. It really just makes this Vania a super annoying card to deal with. Especially, like I said, if you can stick it early game as like 5 defense or something, it's super hard to remove for like an efficient cost. And you're probably losing a body or 2 to it in the process. Looking at our spells at 2 cost, we have Gift for Bloodkin. This is one of the big new spells from the set. This card costs 2 less to play if there are at least 5 vampire cards in your cemetery, which is, of course, as I said, almost all of our deck. So really, once you get to like 5 or 6 cemetery, you're probably there. And then the effect on it here is to summon 2 forest bat tokens. And then if there's a follower with Vania in its name in your cemetery, you draw a card. So that's going to be either the 2 cost Vania we just looked at, or the 3 cost Vania from set 9. Those are the 2 Vanias that we have available currently. But this basically, especially later into the game, is going to be 0 cost, make 2 bats, draw a card. So you're just, for no hand cost, no play point cost, getting 2 bats. Which of course is going to trigger your like when a bat enters effects, or just give you bodies, or give you things to sack to your 2 cost Vania or your purple Raven, anything like that. So just hyper efficient card, and also has some synergies with some of the, like the finisher plays we can do. Definitely one of the strongest cards in the deck here. Our next 2 cost spell is not a vampire card. This is actually a spell from Idolmaster. 2 cost, select an enemy follower on the field, deal it 3 damage, and give +1 attack to each follower that costs 1 or less on your field. So at 3 damage, as I said with Vania, it's not quite as good as 4 that we're getting from Raven, but it can still answer a handful of like reasonable followers. A lot of evolved stuff, definitely stuff that costs more than 2 play points if you can pick the right targets. But the important part here is that it's giving +1 attack to each cost 1 or lower follower we have. That's going to be Green Raven or any of the Forest Bat tokens on our field. So one of the big strategies that this deck is going to employ is sticking like 3 or 4 Forest Bats, and then using a turn where you get to untap with them to buff all of them multiple times using cards like Last Daylight and hit your opponent for a lot more damage than they thought they were leaving on your board. 3 bats can very quickly turn into like 6 or 9 damage just off of 2 pump spells. Which can, you know, chunk your opponent's life away. That's almost half your opponent's life just gone in an instant, and can make games go pretty quickly if they don't have good ways to remove your just like untapped 1/1s. Next card we have is Precious Bloodfangs. So this is 2 cost, choose one of the following. Option 1, you can summon X Forest Bats, where it's the number of enemy cards on the field. So it's going to give you up to 5 bats for 2 play points, which is pretty good. Generally, this is not the mode you want to be using here, since we have plenty of other ways to make bats. But if you don't have any good board, or your opponent has gone wide early on like turn 1 or 2, and you can just sort of play this, get a couple bats, and then try to answer their board the next turn, it's an option, though it's not a great one. Really, this is going to be good against things like amulet decks, where they have a lot of cards on their board, but they're not cards that are threatening you immediately, since you can just sort of utilize that to make a bunch of bats. An Earthright player that messes up and doesn't stack all their amulets together for some reason, I guess, but I wouldn't rely on that too much. Generally, you're only going to want to be picking option 1 if it's giving you a lot of bats. But option 2 is what we're really here for. Give each Forest Bat token on your field +1/+1. So, just like Last Daylight, this is a way that if you untap with a bunch of bats already, you can buff them all and get in for a lot more damage than your opponent expected. But this one also gives them +1 defense, which is huge because it means that they're not going to die to an Angelic Barrage. A lot of decks right now are playing Angelic Barrage if they're like sort of mid-rangey or control decks, since it can answer a wide board of Forest Bats and sort of clear out any threat all at once. Being able to get these guys up to 2 defense means that Angelic Barrage won't kill them, and it can really actually hurt an opponent that, you know, past holding up a play point expecting to be able to board clear on defense. The last 2 cost card we have here is Whispers of a Dream. So this is another Idolmaster spell. 2-cost quick timing, select an enemy follower that costs 3 or less on the field, destroy it, and bury the top card of your deck. Again, the bury is going to help us get to 5 vampires in cemetery faster, ideally, but it's not a huge part of our game plan here. The big thing here is that destroying a cost 3 or lower for only 2 play points at quick timing is very good in the current format. We have cards like Orcus, Vengeful Puppet, Hydro Shaman Riley, and Vania Blood Queen, which are all 3-cost cards that are going to be very big finishers. Vania and Riley are both sources of 6 storm damage. Orcus can be up to 8 or more burn damage. And being able to just remove those followers immediately before they get to kill you is pretty good, especially for 2 play points when all of these are going to cost 6 or more to actually get into play with their big like finisher effects. So a very good way to trade positive and play points. This is one of the cards that I really like to try to find a room for a second copy of. Wibbs only played 1 copy in his list, and it obviously worked out for him. It's not a huge part of your strategy to play defensively. Ideally, you know, you're killing your opponent before you get to the point where you have to do this, or you're the one in control of the game, making them wish they had Whispers. But it, again, is a very powerful card. It can also answer turn 3 Ancient Alchemist if your opponent on Earthright just jams the Ancient Alchemist on 3. You don't really have many good ways to get rid of that before they have a chance to evolve it. This is one way to do that. Moving into 3-cost followers, we have actually the only 3-cost card in our deck, Vania Nightshade Vampire. 3-cost 3/3. Fanfare, put a Forest Bat token into your EX area, so just another source of bats here. Then it has 2 evolve effects, since it is a double-sided Evo. So the first side, if you pay 1, you can evolve into Vania Kind Queen. So this is the Lightborn side. It's a 4/4. On evolve, draw a card, discard a card. This helps you, again, find your pieces, but also get to that 5 vampires in cemetery a little quicker. You can just discard something you don't need. And then while this is on your field, any Forest Bat you play costs 1 less, making them 0 cost. And then whenever a Forest Bat is put onto your field, give your leader +1 defense. So similar to Green Raven, this is going to heal us every time a bat enters, but this one's not once per turn. So if you have cards like Gift for Bloodkin or Unleash the Nightmare that are going to give you multiple bats at once, you can use this to sort of just burst heal while building your board and really put your opponent on the back foot just in terms of like life total exchange. The other side of Vania here is Vania Blood Queen. So this costs 3 to evolve into, making it 6 cost total, but also requires you to already have 5 vampire cards in your cemetery to be able to use the evolve effect. This side has Storm instead of an on-evolve effect, making it our finisher option. It still has the ability to make all of your Forest Bats cost 1 less, and whenever a Forest Bat is put onto your field, select an enemy follower on the field and deal it 3 damage. We can't go face with this, but we can use it to clear wards, or just to clear our opponent's board while hitting them for 6, sort of putting them both down in life and down in board to try to push back against us. Alternatively, if you absolutely have to, you can just use Vania as pure removal, shoot a bunch of stuff for 3, and then send 6 into a follower, if you think you have other finisher options to sort of close out the game. This card is similar to the other side, also very good with cards like Gift for Bloodkin and Precious Bloodfangs, especially Gift for Bloodkin since it's going to be 0 cost on its own, allowing you to just get a bunch more removal out of nowhere. Moving into our 4-drops, we have Old Blood King. This is a 4-cost 2/4. Fanfare, summon 2 Forest Bat tokens straight to the field. And then while this is on your field, each Forest Bat on your field has Rush and Assail. So this turns our 1/1 Forest Bats kind of into like puppets, where we're going to be able to use them as just chip removal. However, the evolve side of this, for 1 play point, we can evolve into a 3/5. Gives each Forest Bat on your field +1 attack. So it makes the 1/1 Rush Assails a little more threatening. Turns them into 2/1 Rush Assails. You can use these to pretty easily just clear out some like standing threats that you don't want around. But the big thing here is similar to Last Daylight and Precious Bloodfangs. If you already have a bunch of bats on your field, say you have 2 bats on your field, play Old Blood King to make 2 more, and then evolve him. You're, again, pumping your board to be able to use the bats already on your field that you got to untap with to swing in for extra damage. And that's kind of how this deck is going to be winning a lot of the time, is turning its 1/1s into 2/1s, 3/1s, 4/1s, and just getting in for huge chunks of damage at a time. Unleash the Nightmare is our last spell here. It's a 4-cost spell, but it costs 1 less to play if there's any vampire card on your field. Summon 3 Forest Bat tokens and draw 2 cards. That is a lot of value out of 1 spell. It is a bit high on cost, but it's pretty easy to be playing this for 3 instead of 4, since we have so many vampires in the deck. Any of these cards can turn it on. Most of them are followers, of course, which can be removed, and the big goal here a lot of times is going to be to play Unleash the Nightmare on turn 3, like just on curve, jam at turn 3, draw 2 cards, make a full board, which can be difficult with early followers if your opponent's playing removal. But the big thing here is if you play Vampiric Fortress on turn 1 or 2, then your opponent's not really going to have a way to remove it, and it's going to guarantee that you have a turn 3 Unleash the Nightmare. Make 3 Forest Bats, draw 2 cards, and then if you untap on turn 4 and have, you know, a Last Daylight and a Precious Bloodfangs, you might get in for as much as 9 or 12 damage on turn 4 and really swing the game very quickly. Taking a look at our sort of finishers of the deck, we have Crimson Rose Queen, 6-cost 4/4. Obviously, this card saw a lot of play in the 2-cost Abyss decks, but we're using it here as well. We don't have as many 2-cost cards in this deck, but since we have so many other ways to win the game, we don't quite need a ton of them to make this lethal. Fanfare, you're going to make a Thornburst token. That is a 2-cost spell that deals 3 to an enemy leader or follower and draws a card. And then it will evolve for 2 play points. On evolve, reveal your hand. Recover play points equal to the number of 2-cost cards revealed this way. With 18 in the deck, you should be able to hopefully have like 2 or 4 in your hand to get some play points back, especially if you've been drawing cards off of things like Precious Bloodfangs and sort of preparing for this turn. And then whenever you play a card that originally costs 2, choose one of the following. Option 1, deal 2 damage to each enemy follower and heal 2. This is a good way to stabilize. If you can like 4 their whole board by playing 2 cards, you can like clear out your opponent's board, heal 4, have a 6/6 that's untapped, and just sort of be in a good position to keep playing out the longer game. Or you can deal 2 straight to the enemy leader, which can sort of turn this card into like a burst finisher that just storms your opponent essentially for a bunch of damage and kills them. As I said, we have a lot of 2-cost cards here, but the big one we're going to be looking for is Gift for Bloodkin. Since we can play it for 0, it means that having 2 2-cost cards in our hand is all we need to be able to play Thornburst and Gift for Bloodkin, which can 4 our opponent's board, heal 4, put an extra 3 damage somewhere, give us 2 Forest Bats, draw an extra card, you know, all of the above. Very good for stabilizing. Alternatively, if your opponent's at 7 or lower, having 2 2-cost cards and Gift for Bloodkin, one of which being Gift for Bloodkin, rather, means that you can deal 7 to your opponent by putting both Rose Queen effects into their face, and of course the Thornburst also into their face. So some really good options here just to sort of close out the game. If you have, of course, 4 2-cost cards, then you're able to get 3 triggers off of Crimson Rose Queen. So it's a little easier to get multiple than it is in the actual 2-cost deck, since ideally our hand size is going to be bigger anyway on average, or at least comparable to an Arbiter hand size, since we have so many cards that draw us extra things. But having a 0-cost card also helps a lot here. Last up is Kudlak. This is a 7-cost 4/6. Fanfare, select up to 2 vampire cards that cost a total of 6 or less in your cemetery and put them in your EX area. They cost 0 to play this turn. We have a lot of combinations here. The biggest things you're going to be looking for are like Unleash the Nightmare plus Vania Vampire Princess, since you can make 3 bats and then play a 5/5 Vania. Or you can get, say, Vania Nightshade Vampire plus Gift for Bloodkin, and if you have an Evo point, or if you're just at 10 play points, you can evolve the Vania and then play Gift for Bloodkin for 0 to make, you know, some extra bats and get a bunch of triggers off to either heal or remove your opponent's board. If you already have bats on board, you could just get like double Precious Bloodfangs and buff them a bunch and turn them sideways. So a lot of options here. Really just whatever is best for the situation. The only thing you have to be aware of is you can't get Nightshade Vampire plus Unleash the Nightmare. or Old Blood King. Any combination of those you can't get just because they're going to cost 6 or more. But everything else, you can basically get any 2 cards you want and go to town. The other effect on Kudlak is going to be to engage him to deal an enemy follower damage equal to the number of vampire cards on your field. This can be a pretty good removal effect. Just shooting something for like 4 or 5, especially if you get Gift for Bloodkin or Unleash the Nightmare. You're going to have plenty of bats to fuel this effect and make it 5 as easily as possible. So he can just, you know, be removal the turn he comes down, as well as a bunch of card advantage. So deck's pretty simple. The strategy is pretty straightforward. Make bats, pump bats, kill your opponent. Lots of removal everywhere, lots of card draw everywhere. You have plenty of cards that heal you to sort of stabilize and play a long game. Just very powerful mid-range strategy here. Not too many downsides. The pros, obviously, you can go wide very easily and rebuild those wide boards very easily and have many ways to pump those bodies. So deck plays kind of similar to Sword in that aspect, though it's a little slower than Sword. We have a ton of sources of removal just built into our bodies. Old Blood King's Assail, Blood Queen Vania dealing damage, Vampire Princess Vania dealing damage, Raven sacking a bat to shoot stuff. Just plenty of removal everywhere. And a lot of burst damage to just close out the game. Either in the form of storm damage through Blood Queen Vania or burn damage from Crimson Rose Queen. A lot of ways to just, once our opponent's below 10, we have kind of a lot of range to kill them. Some cons of the deck, however, Angelic Barrage absolutely hoses this deck. You have to be very aware of that if you're playing against a deck that might have Angelic Barrage in it. Don't overextend into making bat boards early. If they're just going to get blown up by your opponent's extra play point, or just even on the opponent's next turn. You really want to try to save your resources in that case for the most impactful plays you can make, instead of just, you know, eating a barrage. Banish effects can also sort of slow down the game plan. You're not going to see a ton of these, but Paradise Vanguard is in a handful of decks right now, and Earthright plays Price of Magic. And of course, Haven is just annoying in general. But because we need Vania names and Vampire Count in Cemetery, the opponent banishing a couple of our followers, especially in early Vania, can really set back our setup for Gift for Bloodkin, which can make some of our mid-game turns where we're trying to, like, you know, Old Blood King, Gift for Bloodkin, get a full board of bats, Evo, pump everything, can sort of make those turns push back into the later game a bit more. And it is weak to opposing fast, aggressive decks. Like I said, a lot of our removal is sort of just single target, 1-for-1 removal. Last Daylight, Whispers of a Dream, all of that. But even Raven can't shoot multiple things in a turn. Vania, Vampire Princess costs a play point for everything we want to... A play point and a bat for everything we want to shoot. So it can be hard to have enough play points to answer, like, aggressive wide boards early. This makes Sword one of, if not our worst matchup. It is pretty hard to keep up with the, like, turn 1, 2, 3 curve of them pushing us. Here is the entire deck once again. You can use the deck log code in the corner, 5VDC8, or the link in the description to check it out if you want to build the deck or copy and edit, make some changes for yourself. As far as this list goes, not a whole lot I would recommend changing. I think leaving Red Raven out is fine. Whispers of a Dream is a card you could bump up if you wanted to cut down on removal somewhere else. Though this list is pretty tight, pretty optimized, and of course the Evo deck doesn't have a lot of room to change. So, yeah, I think this deck is just insanely strong. I don't know if I think it's quite as good of a deck just in general as Earthright with across-the-board matchups. You definitely have to be wary of things like Sword when you're playing this deck. That can just hose you pretty quick, whereas Earthright doesn't really have as many matchups that it just outright loses. But this deck is definitely super efficient, super powerful, just a very good mid-rangey deck. Definitely tier 1 alongside Earthright. But thank you for watching. This is just, like I said, super good deck. One of the ones I definitely wanted to cover from this set. One of the ones people were most excited for from this set alongside Earthright. So, thought I'd still to get a video out for it. I've got a few more planned coming that I definitely want to cover, Sword and Puppets. And then after that, it'll sort of just be probably whatever comes to my mind, whatever cool decks I'm thinking about trying out, or anything y'all want to suggest. So, until then, there should be some videos on the screen to check out, and otherwise, I will see you next time.